think about what you think optimization means, and from like a sports psychology aspect.
I mean, optimization, like in just sports in general, or just like because like I
We
would be
can do
doing
League
like
of.
the best thing possible, right? Like at the best moment, know what to do, best when.
Okay. And specifically psychological, like how do you reach 100%? What does it mean to get to 100%?
It's like the thing you showed me before, and making sure that your mental is all there, and like you feel like the equal amounts of pressure and stuff. Not feeling the game is too easy, and not feeling the game is too hard, so you're not demotivated. Like you got to be motivated to like win or something, I think.
Yeah, it's that's pretty spot on actually. So on the screen, I'm just drawing a big triangle. All right.
Hmm.
Optimization is the amount of time that we spend here, right? How can we get here? Now, most times, and this is true of all athletes, most times they're around here. And professionals tend to be pretty good at existing up here the majority of the time. But by staying up here, it's exhausting. It requires a lot of focus. It drains you very quickly. And so it is actually almost, well, it is impossible, at least to the level of fitness that athletes have. You can't stay up here. You cannot stay dialed in at 100%. So a lot of them go and they give a post game interview and they say, I feel like I gave 110%, and really we gave it our all. What that really means is they're admitting that, without knowing it, that normally that they're at 90%, and that 110% is the ability to get into this space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I feel that for the most part. Like I don't know. What I usually do is I play like a bunch of games at once, like for like till 9 till whenever, and it's usually like around later on in the day. Like I don't feel the burnout from the amount of games, but I do notice that the quality of my play goes down a lot. But I still do want to keep playing. So like, what are you gonna recommend to do in those situations? Like where you're like, you're not at your most optimal, but you want to keep going.
Right. So that's where you have to be careful. That's where hubris kind of sets in, and it says, all right, even now, especially because I just lost, like I'm definitely gonna win now because I'm so dialed in, and that can be that you are existing in this space, but it's hard to maintain that for large periods of time. And an entire game, right? A game on average is about 35 minutes if it's played to completion. Some of them are done with FFs, right? But this is an exceptional, a very long time to be asking yourself to be up at that top level, especially if you're just coming off of two or three games, right? So the first thing, how, no, I won't even ask how. The first thing is best of threes. All right. And by playing best of three, how do you think playing best of threes allows you to optimize and stay at this point for the maximum amount of uptime?
Well, because best of threes are basically what I'm gonna be doing, if not the best of five. So getting used to doing my best in a set of 3 games or in a set of 5 games would be better than doing it over a lot more games where I'm not really gonna be ever doing aside from solo queue, I guess.
Well, yeah, for sure, because it's relevant for the types of games that you play for your team, that you're getting a lot of best of threes. And if you are playing in a format where you're playing lots of best of fives, then I would change this to best of five. But are you familiar with how marathoners train?
No.
Marathoners basically never run a marathon until the day of the marathon. They they do 10 miles, 13 miles, they push themselves to 16 miles a couple times and then they rest, and then they let adrenaline take over on race day so that they can do the marathon, because a marathon is so utterly exhausting that if you constantly train 26 miles, then you're actually depleting your body more than you're helping it. So even when you have best of 5, using best of 3 and then letting the adrenaline take over for the last 2 games if you need it, and being able to control it is often the best way of maximizing your performance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. How do you think that would like go into lead? Do you think that would like what would that what would you recommend then for that if I have like best of 3 games? Just do like
So basically, to optimize, we need to talk about this area relative to the rest. So I'm going to shrink it and we're going to make this whole area the top. And this is just our normal competitive. And like way down here is I'm playing with friends, right? Just super for fun.
Mhm.
Okay. And we're going to use this area for the sake of the diagram. Oh, let me screen share so you don't need to have
Oh,
anything.
I see.
You see
I'm
it?
watching
Okay.
the stream.
There's not too much of a delay or anything.
No, no, that's good.
Okay. So we're going to use this whole area as like I'm competitive here. This is for fun. And really, when we're talking about how are we going to get to this optimal performance, this peak optimization, we need to have this relative balance because we need to have some place that we can come back down to so that we don't exhaust ourselves. The way that the marathoner is training and the way that they're competing, right? You're not going sprinting the whole marathon. You pace yourself and then you kick, right?
Hmm.
You find that time where you can get that extra surge of energy. Ideally, we want to be here after every tense moment, every time that we're facing off against enemy champions, right?
Hmm.
So we need to have like what is our true baseline, and then what's our like I am active, I am up, I'm focused, but I'm not draining myself. All right. So this, for example, would be when we're CSing. This is anytime we're going back to base. All right.
So you're saying not to focus 100% during the entire game, but instead like focus at that peak level during only certain times and the rest at others.
What
I
we
got
Right, and what we want to do is we want to make this the like 100%. I'm fully dialed in. I play perfectly or as best as I can in these moments without draining our energy.
you. Yeah.
That will go to this. So another good example would be in tennis matches. After a tennis point, one player will walk back to the wall. They might towel off. They might spin their racket in their hands, if you can picture this. And then they might start playing with their strings. And really, what they're doing is they're giving their body an object to focus on, which allows them to come back down to their baseline. And then as the point starts, right, they've got 15 seconds to get back up, get ready for the point. Then they go and they start bouncing around. They start thinking about, they're looking at the next point and they say, all right, here we go, set, 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 set. And they're breathing a little bit heavier, getting ready. And then they split step as the serve comes and they're ready to play at full throttle again. Does that make sense? Can you picture that?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me.
And so tennis builds in these moments, right? Every point there's a small break, every game there's a big break, and every 2 games they have like a changeover where they can sit down. League of Legends doesn't do that. So we have to create it, right?
Right.
And so these big checkpoints that we're going to look for is every time we go back to fountain to take a deep breath. All right?
Can do that.
And when you do that, what it's going to allow you to do, we call it the blue button responses. You have red button responses, which are outwards projected, flexing, yelling, typing, getting angry, feeling hot. All of those project energy outwards and it doesn't resolve sources of stress. But if you can internalize and resolve within, and then by taking that deep breath, picturing that at the bottom of your diaphragm, there's just a little button there. And the bigger your breath is, the more firmly you get to push it down. By giving yourself an object to focus on, it allows you to get back to that stable point, and then you can choose when to come up for these moments. So tell me about your computer space. What's in front of you? What do you see?
Computer space? Just keyboard, mouse, phone stand, computer itself.
What's in the background?
In the background, like just a wall.
Just a wall. Any like
Yeah.
posters or anything, or
Nope.
okay? Do you have like places that you could stand things or hang things or space in front of your monitor?
Yeah, I have some space.
So I will go. Let me turn on the camera for a second. My camera's been bugging out recently, so I have to do this sparingly ever since I swapped rigs. Where'd my J Dragon then go? There it is. All right, camera. All right, see this?
Oh,
Just a little Jade Dragon.
yeah.
Nothing in particular, but for me, it carries meaning. It symbolizes tranquility and peace and just positive energy in general. And this guy hangs out right in front of my monitor.
Hmm.
And anytime that I'm feeling stressed, I can just look at that and be reminded of those positive mantras and positive feelings, and it helps to centralize my focus and my thought. So, do you have anything that can act like that for you?
Yeah, I have a bracelet.
Okay. The bracelets do the best spot would be hanging right above your monitor, but if it needs to be beneath it and in front, then that's fine as well.
Yeah, I just keep it in front of my keyboard for the most part.
Do you mind sharing what the importance of it is to you?
Yeah, it's a gift my girlfriend got for me.
Okay, great. And that times with your girlfriend can be peaceful and whatnot. I
Hmm.
will warn. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but if things ever got rocky, then that bracelet could change meaning,
Right.
and you want to make sure that the thing that you get long term, what if it's the bracelet, that's fine. Um, but even writing yourself a message or putting like a sticky note on the bottom of the monitor with a positive mantra like "you can do this," can also work as a way to just give yourself to focus on something that takes your mind away from the stress signals and lets you get back to this baseline. So, I have a question for you. How
Mhm.
often would you say that you tilt?
Mm, usually tilt after a game that is particularly bad, where I feel the fault of the loss was more reliant on my teammates than on myself, meaning that if the jungler is focusing top side and mid side more than bot side, and the top laners and mid laners still lose, then I'm feeling tilted because of that. It's like, all right, so you focused on them, and then we still lost, even though that I've done what I could in the bot lane with the minimum amount of help I had. Like it's basically in those moments when I feel like I've been neglected, and then the team does bad. Because
Gotcha.
sometimes my supports leave, sometimes the junglers ignore me, sometimes I get towered up, and then we lose the game. And it's like, well, if I got a little bit of help, I might have been able to do something.
And how do you feel tilt? Like, how do you know you're tilted? Like, physically, what happens in your body to know? For example, my chest gets tight and my forehead gets hot when I'm feeling. This used to happen in like soccer games at high levels. If I felt like I was fouled and I and it wasn't called, or if they called it on me, I'd get like hot there. Now, luckily for me, I was able to turn that into good energy, but like that's where my heat was,
Hmm.
and being aware of it meant that I could channel it. So how do you feel tilt?
For me, it's definitely overheating and just getting really, really warm, and it's just like, yeah, just a lot of heat.
Okay, any local place in your body?
Um, my head, my shoulders, my hands, for the most part.
Okay, do your hands get like sweaty or
Yeah, a little bit, not too much.
the number one way to address these areas if you're getting hot when you take the deep breath, picture that all of the energy from that air goes to that place where you're feeling hot, right? So being mindful is the skill to be able to identify that these detractors are impacting you,
Hmm.
and the important thing to know is that you always have a choice in how to react. And so if you address them and say, look, this is to yourself. I'm gonna just type it up. Look, I'm feeling hot here, wherever here is. Take a deep breath and focus the energy to that spot. And this can also work for tightness and nerves, right? And a lot of people, when they feel nerves, their body might start shaking. They actually showed there were multiple people on stage. Who was it? Was it Showmaker? Showmaker was visibly shaking in Game 5.
Really?
Just like actually going. And a lot of it's because these, they're smaller frames, but they have just as much adrenaline in their body, right? And that moment is everything to them. So it can kind of take over. Jensen was also famously like super shaking. Everyone remembers like the failed Echo ult where he just doesn't ult and the team loses the game.
Oh,
But like going into that game, he was like trying. You see him talking, and he was jittering, and I'm talking like an inch plus shake in his hands. And so that's at the highest moment, right? It's the finals or the peak of your season. So that sort of thing could happen in intense moments. You might have a tryout with a semi-pro team, or you might have the finals of your league. Things like this could happen. So you can use visualization, which basically you can put yourself into that game before it happens, so that it's already happened in your mind and your body knows how to react. And then you can say, "I've been here before." Okay.
I see.
That addresses those stress moments. And also you can do the same thing with these negative stress responses, like, okay, this has happened, it's okay, I'm going to be fine, I'm going to play well, I can do this, I can do the next right thing, right? What's the next right move? And by focusing on resolving the source of stress and just focusing on, all right, what can I do really well in this situation, identifying, all right, enemy top laner is fed, even though they got ganked. All right, he's gonna come after me. What's that fight gonna look like? And preparing yourself and saying, I can do this. How do I prepare myself for that Camille that's gonna dive on my head? Make sense?
Right.
All right. Any questions so far?
None so far.
Okay. So this idea of actually optimizing, right, and saying that we're going to push ourselves up, it can be moving quicker, it can be breathing faster, it can things that allow more oxygen intake tend to allow you to play at higher levels. Okay, but again, we don't want to overclock it, right? We don't want to stay up in this area for super long. If we do, what tends to happen is that the crash goes further than our baseline, and it brings us down to a negative state where we start playing very below average. That's why it's important to have these moments where you're saying, okay, I'm going to team fight. This also might be every trading pattern, right? If you're in lane, I wish I could write better with a mouse, but this is how it is, right? So in order of importance, that team fight, we want to be at 100.
Hmm.
When we're doing trading patterns in lane, right, we're going to be super meticulous and super careful. All right, here we go. Let me get my spells. All right, back off, take a breath. And each time you can get to this spot by taking a deep breath. Every time you CS, you're like, okay, I'm a little bit focused, but you don't need to be super dialed in, right? You want to be able to look at the map. You want to be able to think what's the jungler timing, when are they coming, and things like this. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I want you to share with me the sorts of moments in a game that come up. We can use Draven since you just played Draven. Where we're going to try to escalate to the top of this pyramid and when we can come back down. So we'll start off here. Game's beginning. Walk me through it.
All right. Game starting. I want to focus a little harder on making sure that I don't get hit by an invade, so I'll just stand and put. For the next part, I want to focus harder on how the early phase of the laning is going, making sure I get level 2 and poking them down when able to. And then for the rest of the lane, I want to make sure I keep an eye to make sure that the jungler isn't going to gank us, as well as trying to get a lead in the bot side so that I can snowball it.
Okay, so let's talk about how much the focus needs to come up when you're in sentry mode. We're going to use a 0 to 10, where 0 is active, right? But competitive, but not pressed.
Hmm.
Or let's just do 5 to 10. So 5 being our baseline and 10 being up here. When you're a sentry mode, 5 or higher.
Depends on the enemy team. Usually, if they have anything that can flash and then CC me, then it's usually at like an 8, and then when I see them, it jumps to the 10. But otherwise, it's just at a 5.
Okay, so we'll do 5, 8, 10, depending on comps. Okay. Um, then as laning begins, let's say it's first approach to the wave,
Hmm.
5 or higher.
For the most part, it's usually at an 8 because I'm a lot more wary of being cheesed through the tri-brush or the bush close to the turret.
Okay, so 8 as your. So this is assuming you're leashing, sort of.
Yeah, lesion
Okay.
or not lesion even.
Okay. Just there might be danger at 130. Okay. That makes sense. How about when you actually get to the first CS?
When I get to the first CS, it starts to go more on autopilot because I'm more used to being able to the first few CS. I try to get in some trades whenever, so it's more of a 6.
6, perfect number.
Depends
Um,
on the support as well, because if the enemy support is like gonna get a good lead at level 2, I try to focus a little bit more on getting the CS down so we have the advantage.
so
Oh,
like an 8.
yeah,
Okay. Um, ninth minion.
that's the level up, right?
Yep.
As soon as the level up goes, it's still more at a 6, unless that they're also about to get the minion. But if we're a minion or two ahead of them, I usually just walk forward and push them off the CS, so it doesn't get much higher than that.
Okay, so walking forward could be a moment of tension, right?
Uh, Not usually with the champions that I'm playing, especially when we hit the level 2 spike. It feels like a lot more that the wave and lane is in our control the moment that happens. But I am
Okay.
still worried about the jungler ganking though.
So I agree that the moment that you have cleared the ninth minion, you'll feel very comfortable. I want you to bring this moment to a 10
Hmm.
when you're fighting for the ninth minion. Super alert. What can happen if they ding up? Did they kill a ward? Right. It's part of that's preparing the wave, but if it's Leona Tristana, like they are going to kill you at level 2. So getting
Right.
2 for early is paramount. Or saying like, hey, we just completely have to back off. But this has to be a moment that you are super in tune with what's going on. The moment it finishes, there's either going to be two states, right? You're either going to have a fight, in which case you're going to stay at 10, or they just hit 2 and people back off and you can go back to a more normal state. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Each time that you level up and the longer you stay in lane, this number should be going up. Okay? Because it becomes more and more likely that someone joins your lane or that the tension of the lane gets more tenuous as people have more money and haven't spent. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? There's like
Right.
more at stake where the swing can be bigger if they're going to now come back with a bigger item, for example. When are you going to go back down to 5?
Mm, Probably when the tower falls, so then I get into the mid lane and then I just have to be wary for ganks.
Okay, after tower falls, what do you do when the tower falls? Do you run straight through river to mid or do you
I
recall
usually
first?
recall to buy and then I go to mid.
Okay. The recall, every recall needs to be your 5. Okay?
Mhm.
That'll be take a deep breath, mantra, prepare for next move. All right, and basically as you're coming back to lane, you're starting to think about okay, I've come back. I've resolved any stress. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fresh. Every time you come back to lane, you can start thinking during that walk. All right, what's this next iteration? Let's see. Let's say we're going into the level 4, 5, 6 of the lane. What's that going to look like, right? And starting to prepare for that mentally. There's actually a great clip of this. Okay, we're gonna.
Yeah,
Brute strength and intimidation. Most guys were just pretty much intimidated. They lost the fight before they even got hit. Most guys. I knew the art of skullduggery. These guys, I knew how to beat these guys psychologically before I even got in the ring with them. As soon as I
So this is the part from here on, is where he's gonna talk about like what it's like coming back to the ring. And you've seen this before, but think of it in the mindset of you returning to lane, okay? Where the recall is you're in the locker room, and when you get back out to lane is the beginning of the fight.
come into the ring, as soon as I come into the ring, I'm gloved. No, stop it. That's not true. While I'm in the dressing room, 5 minutes before I come out, my gloves are laced up. I'm breaking my gloves down. I'm pushing the lever in the back of my glove. I'm breaking the middle of the gloves so my knuckle could pierce through the leather. I feel my knuckle piercing against the tight leather gloves on the Everlast boxing glove. When I come out, I have supreme confidence, but I'm scared to death. I'm totally afraid. I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of losing. I'm afraid of being humiliated, but I'm totally confident. The closer I get to the ring, the more confidence I get. The closer, more confidence I get. The closer, more confidence I get. All during my training, I've been afraid of this man. I thought this man might be capable of beating me. I've dreamed of him beating me, but I always stayed afraid of him. But as closer I get to the ring, I'm more confident. Once I'm in the ring, I'm a god. No.
That last bit, it's kind of like once I get back into lane, I'm a god, right? And you're just like, all right, here we go, and ready to dial it up again in those moments. Okay, so we've got early game, changing how active you are based on information they have. You can decompress as you start hitting minions, but need to be more or less alert. We're going to have spikes at the 9th minion. And do you remember when you hit level 3?
No.
I want to say it is number 22. It should be the 3rd melee of the wave after the cannon. But I will. It's been a while since I checked up on that, but we want to address where this is because the first spikes in the game, bigger than any like item or even first blood coming back with a longsword, is nothing compared to hitting level 2 and hitting level 3. So we want to be at a 10 for both of those moments. All right, when you recall and you rotate to mid-wave, all right, now the game is progressing. There's a little bit more going on. There's more factors. So after rotation, we have to bring up a little bit higher than the 6 because now there's more factors to consider. There's new information. It's not as rehearsed as bot lane is. Now that you're in mid, there's going to be more factors, so you can exist at a 7+. All right, and then again, every time that team fights are breaking out, we're going to push ourselves to that like extra level of focus. Okay. You ready to put it into practice?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Question though, like how do you know that you're actually at these levels like 5, 7, 10, 8? Because I can say that I'm at these levels, but like how would I actually know if that is where I'm at?
Well, right now it's you'll get used to putting a label on it, right? And it's really am I active versus alert versus optimized, right? And that's sort of the scale going up. Whereas this is your baseline. You have baseline, then active, then alert, then optimal. Each time that you play, you should try to remember what it felt like when you said, "Man, I played great that game." Right? So anytime that you finish a game, this actually, I'm going to write this down because it's important. When you finish, try to recall your feelings. All right? Obi-Wan was right. Be mindful of your feelings. If you can remember those moments that were like, man, I felt I was good here. Like I was here, I was dodging everything, ducking in between skill shots and getting damage out. Go back and review that moment and say, all right, what was I doing? Like really try to get yourself into that zone, and you can replay it in your mind when you're in that downtime and excuse me, in between your best of three. And you can say, all right, what was it like to be there? And practice visualizing it and putting yourself back in those feelings to really confirm or even expand what your 10 is like. All right, so really it's about being introspective, being mindful, and saying, all right, I feel like I'm playing great right now. Then that's your 10.
Hmm.
Whenever you feel like you're playing the very best.
Okay.
Okay. I would prefer to do this in Norse, but this is.
Oh,
I will
I'm
talk
sorry.
less. That's okay.
What summoner spells do you recommend as Lucian?
Those
I'm
ones, but
always. Hmm?
those ones. But cleanse is
Mm.
mandatory into Ash, for example. And if they have an engaged support that's likely to take ignite, then cleanse tends to be best.
Okay.
But but in general, those are great. If you're a longer range champion, then Flash Ghost is best. And most times you want to let your enchanter bring the heal.
Gotcha. I hope they pick the enchanter.
It's smart to hover Lucian because Lucian is, I'm not gonna say unplayable, but he's missing out on a ton of his kit if he's not getting buffed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that passive damage is supremely important. Paramount.
Mm-hmm. Usually when I have Delusion, people play enchanters if not engaged, so or just Nami, yeah.
Right. There are champions like Nautilus that can actually run Font of Life, and Font of Life is actually fantastic because
Oh
every auto
yeah.
attack will continue to heal you, which in turn keeps your bonuses on.
Hmm.
All right, so I want you to exist at active right now. Start making a
Okay.
plan. Start thinking about what the game's going to shape up like. Things like this.
Well, my plan is to win early, otherwise Karthus is going to be a major issue. And that Yone is going to be very annoying with his ultimate and EQ.
What sort of counterplay do you have to a Pike and a Yone?
Oh, a Pike and a Yone?
Mm-hmm.
My E.
E? Are you going to build Gale Force?
Most likely, yeah.
So you can start visualizing what those moments might look like and start picturing what an E away from one of them and a Gale Force away from another one might look like. Toughest situation in this game might be something like needing to dodge Yone ult, Pike dash, and Gnar.
Mm.
All right, when are your aggressive spikes for this lane?
I want to say if we get level 2 first.
Should you try for level 2 or should you give it to them?
I want to try for it, but if we get hooked, then we need to back off immediately because they both have Halo Blades. They could burst us down really fast.
Yep. So their short trade pattern is going to be exceptional. When might the jungler show up?
Might actually show up after his first camp. I think I just played with him.
You're right. That was the guy in the last game. That was the Xinjiao.
Hmm.
All right, that's great intel. Something worth noting about the Hail of Blades, though, if they cast both of their Qs and they get their Hail Blades, whoever gets hit should back off, but whoever's not, they can have nothing left in the tank. So if
Hmm.
Nami gets hooked, for example, you can actually unleash into Kaisa.
Right.
All right, take a deep breath. Press the blue button at the bottom of that deep breath. What's your mantra this game? Let's do
Isn't it like I've been here before?
Yeah, all right. Let's do you can do this.
All right. I can do
I've got
this.
this. I've got
I've
this.
got this.
All right, like in most of these cases, especially once we're in ranked, I'm basically going to be watching you. I'll give you some reminders here and there, but
Sounds good.
as best you can, try to stay heightened at the levels that you want.
Right.
I'm going to mute myself because I feel some coughing coming on.
Sounds good. I'll be here.
All right, get ready.
Yep.
Good job.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. Perfect. You got this. Good trade. Take a deep breath when you get a chance. Great job. You're playing great.
Thank you. some moments like these where the lane is just me shoving in, where I feel a lot of tense because like I'm not getting the lead, so in my head I'm behind.
Yep, that was an opportunity to shove and to go get your serrated dirk. So just crash this in. Use all
Okay.
your spells. Doesn't matter. Because we just want to get the best timer going off. You can leave the last CS. Just press back. Serrated dirk is such a big spike for Lucian that anytime that you're in range of it, it's worth just getting that back. All right, so take a deep breath.
So I should go. I should go Dirk first instead of the Gale Force.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go dirk into Gale Force. You can finish the
Dirk and
collector
Gale
later.
Force. Okay.
All right, you got a deep breath. How you feeling?
Yeah. The Dirk is throwing me off, but I feel a lot more powerful with the early lethality than otherwise, especially with them shoving up like this.
You're gonna be super strong.
Yeah. Feel a lot stronger with it.
Good job. Pink Dragon. Take a deep breath. Great job. Excellent dodge there on the
Thank
Yummy
you.
bar.
Oh no. Do I shove or help him?
Shove.
Okay.
You just say, all right, guy's dead. It's no big deal.
How do I clear the wave fast again? It's focusing the cannon minion or the range minions first?
It depends if you want the wave to be healthier to deal more damage. Then you focus the casters, but you want to just line up the maximum amount of damage. But casters first is the way to get a healthier wave in. You can press back. That wave was actually after you got the plate was a chance to let it just come back and freeze while you recalled because you already had the 1300.
Really?
But yeah, now you're
Do I
just
just
totally.
try Noon Quiver or do pickaxe longsword?
I do. I knew Noon Quiver, but it's up to you.
Okay.
I generally like to come out as strong as possible there, so I'd buy refillable instead of the second control ward.
I see.
But it's all good.
For me, I try to start off with the control wards just because, like, well, one, yeah, he just is going to kill it here, and I just feel safer having a control ward just in case they walk into a bush so I can put it down for vision.
Yep, perfect. Now he's
That's
doing
also
great.
why I like to keep a ward.
You feeling good?
Yeah.
All right, you got this. You're killing it. Nice job.
Thank you.
I heard you start to take a deep breath, and then you're like, "Oh, wait a second, there's a fight," and then you did it. So, like, that's a great example of you were coming back down, and then you brought yourself back up for the moment. It was great. Good job claiming the maximum number of resources.
Thank you.
All right, how strong are you?
I feel a little strong, but once I get my Gale Force, I feel a lot more confident.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
still feel like Kaisling can kill me with the pike.
with the two of them, if they get time alone with you, but you are super strong here.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the Nami around.
Right. And if you got a 1v1, you're absolutely stronger.
Yeah, but I have to be careful because of the Karth Assault still.
Yep. Just use culling here.
Hmm?
Just use culling and reset, yeah.
Okay.
See how much they were trying to they were stepping up, they were trying to get up, and I see you wanting the trade almost, but it's a perfect time to say, all right, last bite, it's whatever.
I see.
You already have your Gale Force, which is such an enormous spike anyways.
Yeah.
So you want to get
So,
that. Now you can look for the fight.
okay, so when do I want to do the calling for the wave? When I know that the jungler's like around and want to gank, or when I
Yeah,
have like a big power spike?
if you have a spike you want to get back, you want to get a good shop, things like this, things that
Okay.
bring the tempo up. How did you feel when you stepped ahead of the turret? Did you feel yourself like heart beating a little bit more, like you're a little more focused?
Uh, a little bit. I was mostly wanting to keep the Kaisa off of the CS. When
Okay.
my Nami ulted the wave, that's when I really felt it, because that was like, we're in danger now because we don't have an ultimate, and she's expecting me to go in maybe, or maybe she's trying to keep her off. So that's when I was like, I didn't know what to do or what I was supposed to do in that moment.
Got you. So that's one where we sometimes get spiked a little bit higher than we were expecting. It's something that we didn't visualize, for example. Wait a second, Nami's ult's down. We're defenseless, right? And that, for lack of a better word, is panic, and we try to avoid letting panic set in.
I see.
But that can be done by controlling how we feel, how much we feel. When Karthus is ulting, you want to get yourself close to Nami so she can give you a airy shield.
Oh, right. Okay.
All right, Karthus ult is down. Start thinking in your mind about what a potential fight might look like. If at any point you feel like they've overstepped and you have good information, feel free to dash Q auto Gale Force, get the full combo in.
Yeah. I wanted to try to do that there, but then Pike showed up and with Gnar too.
It's all right.
Should I go for the boots or go for
No,
the
I want no
collector's
boots.
plate?
I want you to get boots only after you get 3 items.
Okay, I can do that.
All right, take a deep breath. You can do this. They've used a lot of resources. You still have Gale Force.
Hmm.
And you still have culling, which means that you're strong here.
I think they get this before I get there, though.
All right, they're focused on top. Top, you can shove this in.
I need to get a maul.
That should be collector. You should back for that.
Uh,
It's a short stint on the map, but it's totally fine, right? You wanna exist in your moments of spikes. So you're gonna go Maw and then I edge fourth.
Yeah.
Love it. Seems great.
Scarth is hurting a
Cover mid.
lot right now.
Cover mid.
Okay.
You've got it. You Gale Force auto. Your max damage, if you find the opportunity, is E Gale Force auto Q auto. Right?
Really? Don't use Gale Force for the finisher?
Nope, because you just want the like. It is more damage to get Gale Force in that order, but as far as gap closing and seeing windows that they might not be expecting, you can create plays with E Gale Force.
I can do that.
How you feeling?
I'm trying to think of what to do because they're going a little tankier and they're getting lifesteal. So I'm feeling not so good because I know that Lucian doesn't do well into tanks. So I'm thinking of regards instead of the IE. Or do you recommend the IE first?
If they're building tanky and they've got the health, then Lord Doms is totally fine.
Okay.
Largely, you want to be thinking about who in the fight is your job to kill, and it would be totally fine if you popped Karthus, Kaisa, or Pike.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily need to make Yone your job, especially since your team has a Jackson and Poppy.
Mm-hmm.
If we were going straight 4 items, then yeah, I would say at this point Lord Dom's third and Infinity Edge fourth. But if you're finishing Maw, then I would not want to wait on Infinity Edge.
Okay.
But it depends on what they continue with. Your team is largely AD, almost entirely, so the Gnar is going to get pretty tanky. Ping Baron. Their team's so focused on Dragon right now. Everyone's on bot side. They're recalling. They're even leaving the Rift Herald up in top lane. Like this should be free if people are paying attention on your team. Nami and you might be able to just do it by yourselves. But gives Jax a spot. Yeah, he's in. Do it. All right, start thinking about what their approach looks like.
I'm gonna be coming there. Karthus ult for a lot of damage. Gnar might be able to see us. Kaisa could ult off of Gnar engage. Should we pull back off?
They're good right now because they're still on Dragon.
Okay. Oh, they're not on Dragon?
All right, now you pull off. Now they come into you. Now you can culling up front. Really good effort.
They're separate, so should we try to go for them, or?
This is normally where you push up mid, and so you split the map on them. They have to still think about whether or not you guys are on Baron, so you guys are very strong in this area. Unfortunately, the Jack's left, but he will get a turret at least, but not worth. If he had a little more patience, you guys would have been strong.
Right.
In that situation, yeah, totally decent time to go after it. Most times, yeah, I want you to leave with a control ward for exactly that situation, because your team can play with much more confidence if they know that area is swept. Because it looked like Nami had recently used her sweeper and didn't have her. Yeah, she doesn't even have a slot for a control ward. Good news is your flash is still up, so you still have your main resource for getting away from Gnar. Get that breath in. You got this.
Do I just want to call them
Yeah,
now, or the
will be
way?
next. Yeah, next wave you just rip
Okay.
it apart. Get as much damage on them as possible. Yeah. What's their main damage type?
Should be 80.
The Lucian generally doesn't need the attack speed. I'd rather see you go
Oh.
Lucid Boots for extra flashes, or if there's a definitive, like, this is the best defensive boots. Nice try. Your team had a little bit of a mental boom going on, but you played great.
Yeah,
You played
top lane
fantastic.
and the rest of the lane's kind of just... That's unlucky.
So, all right, so take a deep breath, decompress. And now this is where we go. Instead of being at the instead of being at the baseline, we actually reset fully to the bottom of the triangle, right?
What does that mean?
Like let yourself come all the way down, right? You were up for the game and you were at this like pretty high, this activated level. Now we want to deactivate, come back, truly get a breath. It's very easy to just say, play again. And then sometimes we can harbor some of the emotions or some of the fatigue from the game before. And we want to avoid those situations as they can lead to multiple losses in a row. And sometimes those are the ones that hurt more because you don't realize that you're impacted when you are.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to come back down and then you say, all right, I'm good. Here it is. If you want to take a moment to reflect on things, then this is the time to do it. And then when you feel ready, like you've truly decompressed, then you say, all right, time to go back up. And then you come back up to this level. How often did you find yourself below this in that game,
I mean,
if ever?
below what?
The like active. Did you ever feel like whatever and like not paying attention?
For a good most part of that game, yeah. After the top side of the map had a mental boom with Jax popping also just yelling at each other, I was in the head thinking, well, this is going to be a really tough game to win, to try to win, and they're already wanting to throw a surrender vote out and FF and everything.
Got you.
So the
That
moment that started to happen, that's when, yeah,
so
I
you felt
wasn't as
yourself go
focused.
here. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I saw the difference. If we're reviewing, that's where you no longer dodged spells. It was more okay. I'll get my damage in, and less like there were a couple opportunities to flash away from the Gnarl, for example, sidestepping a little bit early. The time that you died mid was right after the concede vote, so I could tell that your headspace was on the concede vote and not in the like, all right, what's coming. And that's
Hmm.
that happens, and there's no way to avoid it because it pops up on your screen. It like forces you to think of it, and it is a detractor for sure. There's no other way about it. The best thing we can do is find a moment to come back up and bring ourselves back up above that threshold and say, all right, that guy's pissed. It's whatever. I'm going to play my best. I'm going to carry him, or I'm going to do everything I can to play as good as I can. It's not always going to result in a win. You can't impact the win, but what you can impact is how you play, how you resolve the stress, and how you optimize. And it's always going to be a choice that you have. Never feel like it's predetermined or that it's outside of your control because you can control the things you can control. And that'll always be true.
Right.
I'd say I'd recommend looking back at all this, make sure that you get it all. That's gonna be it for today for us. But it was great. I think you were doing fantastically. I did throw you for a loop by having you buy the serrated Dirk first. So that also may have contributed it. So I take blame for that. Pulling you out
Oh,
of
that felt
your zone.
nice. If those the Dirk felt nice, I just felt like I should have been up and try to auto attack them more, but I haven't been doing that as much lately.
Yeah, there were definitely windows. You were much stronger. There were windows for you to find extended trades, not just your own pattern, but continuing because you guys really were that much stronger. And
Yeah.
specifically, your lane from 3 to like 10 is gonna crush it in most cases. The synergy is just so strong between those two champions that if they're not kiting and dodging your damage, then you're just stronger. So there were some good times. I saw you get up. I saw you playing really well. Those are the times. If you could you feel yourself like I'm in the zone? Did it ever come up, or was it pretty quick to drop out?
No, I didn't really feel like in the zone there for the most part. The only time like I felt anything much was when the Yone dodge, and I just felt like I got really lucky there with it.
I was gonna set that moment. Is I saw you stop to take a breath and then be like, oh wait. Also when they came to bot lane, but also that
Oh
moment in the
yeah.
river. Both those times were okay. I'm here. I saw you fully focused, and you played great. So that moment, those moments were ringing the bell at the top. Right, you were at this peak for those moments, and really the game can come down to, you know, decisions that we make, but it might come down to 5 of those moments in the game. And if you can play at your peak, then I know that you are capable of winning games in those 5 moments where it comes up. All right, man.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff, dude.
Thank you.
Feel free to play another game when you do your best of 3s. Like, really take this to heart. Okay, if you are playing, I'd say decompress right now because we just did a lot. There's a lot of information. Build in a break for yourself. When you play your best of 3, right? 0-2, stop. 2-0, stop. This will train you to care about the result and really to allow you to heighten and try to train yourself to get to this peak spot much more readily if you care about whether or not you're winning this best of 3. And then when you get to that spot, you care so much, you need to build in the decompress. It's very important to take a break. All right?
Gotcha.
All right, man. Good luck. I'll see you in Masters again soon.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. No, honestly, though, that's the goal is I'm going to see you playing good. The results don't matter as much as continuing to improve and adding something to your arsenal.
Right.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Thanks. You too.
Peace. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep it surreal. Peace.